College football is here, and we're back on the big mountain to talk about the NIU Huskies. I have a very special guest with me, Skyler Kisellus. He is a senior sports reporter with the Northern Star. Great to have you on the big mountain.
Yeah, I know it's good to be on here, and I'm getting ready for this upcoming season, about 2 weeks away, and then we're gonna have our curtain call on the Mac before heading off to the Mountain West.
I'm excited. We're just talking off camera. I'm anxious to get the Huskies into the Mountain West. It'll be my easiest travel point to get to see Mountain West football. But hey, let's talk about this year and where the Huskies are at. Let's just start with your overall expectations, like high level. We'll dig into some of this a little bit more detailed later on, but just high level, like kind of what are your expectations here for this fall football season?
Well, coming off a season where we won a second straight bowl game, I think the floor for this team is got to be a reach a bowl game and hopefully win one. Obviously, this being our last year in the Mid American Conference, you hope they can go off on high note, get their seventh MAC title before heading off to pursue their manifest destiny or whatnots. But just as far as straightforward expectations, I have at least just looking at the strength of the schedule and just the team that we've seen through spring and the early fall. I think this is a team that can hit the 6-6. They can hit the 6 win mark to go to a bowl game, but I think they're going to fall just short of making that MAC title game. I mean, it's a competitive league we have over here. You have guys like Toledo, Ohio, Miami, who are all very good contenders, and they have very good squads, good leadership, and just very well constructed rosters. So I think they're going to fall just short of for that dream ending you hope for when you leave a conference. But I think getting a bowl win or at least reaching a bowl game, I think he could chalk that up as a success. But obviously, what they do on the gridiron is gonna, dictate how things are gonna go.
Yeah, for sure. Well, 7-5 last year, and then as you mentioned, had that bowl win to finish 8-5. Really, some great wins last year. Everybody wants to talk, and we continue to talk about that Notre Dame game last year. We talking about that in NIU, I think, for quite a while. That was fantastic. But then you had a great showing there in the bowl versus Fresno State. Got the win. I watched that game. It was a fun game to watch. Really kind of showcased, I think, who your starting quarterback's going to be this year. So let's talk offense. I know been a lot of turnover there from the starters for the Huskies. Let's just talk about offense here. How you feeling with the quarterback situation and just the offense overall?
I mean, yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head with, that bowl performance. Obviously, we got our glimpse as to what Josh Holtz can really do. Before that game, we hadn't really seen everything we might want to see from him. But I mean, looking at what he brings to the field, I mean, he's a good passer and he's a lot more mobile than quarterbacks we've had lately. I mean, and looking at the rest of the room, I mean, the start QB1 for the Huskies isn't a done deal right now. I mean, for all we know, Dartmouth transfer Jackson Proctor could be the guy come week one. Maybe Jalen Macon makes a surprise push, or maybe even the true freshman Brady Davidson. So I wouldn't say it's set in stone yet, but if I'm a betting man in this case, I think Josh Holtz is going to be our starting quarterback, and I like what he brings to the table with his offense. Obviously, we changed offensive coordinators this offseason. We I believe NIU fired Wesley Bashorner right after the loss to Miami. Hammock takes care of play calling for the rest of the season. Now we have Quinn Sanders, the former head coach at D2 Charleston, and that was and just looking on not paper, I mean that was a very efficient offense he ran over there. And I've talked to Josh about working in this offense, and he has compared it to the offense he ran in high school at Marengo, so it's something very familiar to him. So I think that level of comfortability is going to make it easier for him to work with this offense. And then obviously the offense has more than the quarterback. Running back, I think this is a room that can easily be one of the best in the country. I mean, you see, it looks like a three-headed monster. Really, it could go 4 or 5 heads. I mean, Telly Johnson Jr., he's a true freshman last year, ran for about 500 yards, and I want to say 4 touchdowns. He'll likely be the starting running back for the Huskies this year, but you also have guys like Jalen Poe, Chavon Wright, who followed our offensive coordinator from Charleston, and then Romello Ware, he's another young guy who can contribute. I mean, and then even the true freshmen we have. I mean, this is a very deep room. And even though this new offensive scheme is going to make this the system more balanced. I don't think NIU is going to abandon its tendency to run. I mean, I think they are still going to be a team that can punish you on the ground. But then, obviously, and as I just hit on, this is a team that is we're going to see pass more than maybe in years recent. I mean, receivers, we did lose all of our starting receivers from last season. Trayvon Rudolph, Cam Thompson, Grayson Barnes all hit the transfer portal. But even with the guys you bring in and the guys you return, LaDon Bryant, he looks like he's going to be the X receiver. Slot receiver, we thought was going to be Dane Partridge, but he entered the portal really late in the offseason. So now it looks like Lenore Ryan transferred. D'Ari Rogers is going to be the guy there, as well as the starting punt returner. He has a lot of speed from what I've seen from him. And then obviously your Z spots. Gary Givens, we get him from Valparaiso. He had a very good standout campaign over there. So you have a good trio of receivers that I think can work well with Josh Hulse, and as well as the scheme Sanders is going to bring in for tight end. Jake Applegate is going to be the next man up after Grayson Barnes goes to West Virginia.
Mhm.
He's a guy who he's a balanced tight end. He can do both. He's a good pass catcher, but he can also play well into a blocking scheme. Offensive line, the last aspect of the offense, but arguably the most important.
Yeah.
You return one starter from that line, Evan Malcor. Everyone else has graduated now. You have a new look room there, but it's still a lot of seasoned veteran guys. Abiathar Curry, he's been in this program for a while. He'll likely be our right guard. We bring in Aiden Tweedy, a center from Wayne State. He'll compete with Landon Roan for that spot. Right tackle, I think, is going to be Tommy Posh. We saw a little bit of him last year when he filled in for Evan Buss, and he was pretty impressive from what I've seen. And then the coach for that unit, Luke Meadows, he's a very experienced coach, and he's been able to get a lot out of his guys. So offensive line, while I don't think they're going to match the high bar that unit set in years recent, I think it's still going to be a very good line in the MAC.
It definitely seems like you have a pretty balanced offense. At least again, we haven't seen them in action yet. Seen them in practices and whatnot, but they look to be pretty balanced. It looks like, even though, like you said, they turned over quite a lot of starting positions there. I still think they have, they're going to do just fine here with both in and out of conference. We'll get to maybe schedules and predictions at the end. But let's go to the defense here. Again, a lot of turnover there in terms of losing your starters there. Maybe a little bit more gray. Can you fill us in on the defense?
Yeah, the defensive side of the ball, obviously, we know the reputation that team had last year, one of the best units in the football bowl subdivision, and then you graduate most of the starters on that side of the ball. And I mean, when you look at the situation there, it looked pretty bleak after even losing the young guys like Santana Banner and Skyler Howard. But look at the guys you bring back. I mean, you bring back both of your star edge rushers, Roy and Jelani Williams. I mean, those are two of the best edge rushers in the MAC, especially Roy Williams. I mean, that guy is a freak of nature. I can say that confidently. I mean, even the Athletic put him on the freaks list, so I think I have support there. And look at the rest of the defensive line. Yeah, you lose Cade Haberman, Demont Taylor, Devontae O'Malley. I mean, those are tough losses to swallow, but they bring in two transfers. Alvin Gully Jr., he just got here from Yale, and then Deshaun Dixon, I believe he came in from U Albany. So I mean, obviously, they're filling in pretty big shoes in the middle of that defensive line. But I think with the experience you have there, you're going to be well suited for whatever opposing MAC offenses are going to bring you. Linebackers, you replace both of those guys. Jane Dolphin, Christian Fearman are both moved on now. And right now, it's looking like Quinn Erweiler. He's been in the program for the past 3 years. He looks like he'll be taking up the Mike linebacker spots. Weak side is a bit harder to tell. I think it could be anyone from Mark Preto, Danny Cronin, or maybe Jake Gasaway. So that's the one spot on defense I'm not totally confident in, but
Right.
whoever it is, I mean, I think they're going to make a very excellent compliment to Quinn Arweiler. And obviously the secondary. I mean, that the unit that we put out there last season was pretty impressive. Javon Bird, Jashawn Profits, Neva Carcel, Santana Banner. I mean, arguably one of the best secondaries in the MAC last season, maybe outside of Toledo. And now all of those guys are gone. But I mean, looking at cornerback, I mean, your new number one is going to be Jacob Finley. And I think he started about 4 games last season. And from what we saw, I mean, he is a young corner who is definitely going to have an impact on this defense. He's going to be able to make his voice heard. And I think he's going to be able to, hold his own against, these talented receivers the Mac offers. I mean, especially Toledo, that game later this season, Junior Van Der Ross and Trayvon Rudolph. We know him very well. And opposite him, Dante Harrison, he's a transfer from Shepherd. He's a veteran guy there too. So even with the losses we had, this offseason, you have a lot of experience coming in, a lot of experience coming back. That's going to help stabilize things. And then, of course, Nickelback, Jashawn Prophet, I mentioned earlier, he's gone, but he's handed down, the mantle of starting Nickelback and his number one jersey to Ty Miles, who is now a redshirt senior. So you're plenty suited on the as cornerbacks, and then of course safety. The last line of defense, Neva Carcel, Jordan Hanson, Santana Banner all moved on. But even so, Muhammad Jameh, Jasper Beeler, Cyrus McGarrell are looking like they're going to be your trio back there that are going to help man things. I mean, all of those guys are very experienced. I think the youngest there is Jasper Beeler. He's a junior transfer from Saginaw Valley State, and still, and then with Cyrus McGarrell and Muhammad Jameh, both redshirt seniors, fifth year seniors. I mean, you have a lot of familiarity with each other, a lot of chemistry with the guys who are back.
Yeah.
But arguably the biggest question mark of this defense is going to be the coordinator. You bring in Rob Harley from Arkansas State, who we beat in the bowl game 2 years ago.
Right.
And when you look at his track record coming into the NIU job, the 4 seasons he's run the defense for the Red Wolves, they were not particularly great. I mean, I believe they were in the bottom 10 in the Football Bowl subdivision all 4 years he was there. So now the big question is, can he kind of shift things in the other direction now that he's got all this talent, on the defensive side of the ball? And I think he can do it. I know the mantra for this season for the defense is, heat. Bring the heat, create turnovers, force big plays, and knowing the caliber of talents and the caliber of the players that we have on that side, I think they can do it. It's just a matter of will they?
For sure. And it sounds like, overall, both sides of the ball there, while you're losing a lot of the starting experience, there's a lot of experience that has been with NIU. So guys that have risen up through the last few years, they know what Coach Hammock's all about. They know the hard way very well. And so that only helps kind of fit into that starting role once they've been able to get there. So, and when you get those edge rushers, as you mentioned, I mean, they can cause a lot of havoc and not allow an offense the time to be able to run the offense. So anxious to see what you have there in your defense. And we've been doing these previews for every team. I'd like to ask our guests kind of what they think is the biggest question mark for the season, and then what the biggest strength is of the season. So let's go to question first. If you could pick one part of the program or the team, whatever you want it to be, what would you say is kind of the biggest question mark here in the preseason as we get ready for game one?
I think, the biggest question mark, and I think it's going to be a question that a lot of fans have is, will this new offense that Quinn Sanders bring in, will that work? Because obviously, Charleston, that's Division Two. Division
Mhm.
Two is, that's a different ballgame. Division One, you're playing against the big boys up here. And while what you do at Division Two may work against them, can it translate? And that's really the big question I have. Will the scheme work with, the pace that, Division One plays at, and the caliber of competition you're going to play early on? You're
Right.
going to face, obviously, FCS team. It's not the cream of the crop competition, but still, you can't really take a rest day, especially with a
Right.
team like Holy Cross,
Yeah.
who's been a recent FCS powerhouse. Then you go to Maryland, then you go to Mississippi State, and then you come home for a clash with a Mountain West team, the conference that, has been able to get you at home. So it's really, can it be executed? And that's going to be the big question. If they can answer that, and they can give us an offense that honestly just needs to take a step forward from last year. I mean, I know I'm bumbling over my words here, but
No,
last
I got it.
year, obviously, defense was the exclamation point, offense was the question mark. Now is, can offense turn around? Can that be the strong suit now, especially with a defense that's trying to get back in its own identity again?
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. So let's say the biggest strength of the team then coming into the season, it can be a position, it can be one player, it can be a whole the whole defense, whatever you want it to be. What would you say is right now the strength of the Huskies?
A strength of the Huskies is going to be one that has historically been a strength for the Huskies, and that is the running game.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I touched on this earlier, but I mean, these running backs, I mean, it's ferocious. I mean, it was the case last year too. You have guys like Ontario Brown, Gavin Williams, Telly Johnson behind them. I mean, it was just, it's more of like the Hydra concept, cut off one head, two more grow in its place. And that's what it seems to be every year, especially Hammock being the running back guru he is. So even if you don't have Telly Johnson in the field, you have a playmakers like Trayvon Wright. You have Jalen Poe there. Romello Ware can even make some magic happen. And then you have these utility guys. I know Justin Lynch, he's a guy who's kind of bounced around positions a bit. But I think you can maybe be sneaky with him and kind of use him for some trickery there too. So I mean, overall, I mean, even if the offense doesn't work the way it's intended and maybe the pass doesn't flourish as one might hope, you can still pound the rock very easily with this team.
That's great. I'm anxious to see it. I'll be watching a lot of NIU football this year as I'm gearing up to be ready for them to be playing in the Mountain West next year. So, two last things I want to end with here. If you can just kind of I know you started with a little bit of a prediction where you thought things were going to be at. Just kind of wrap it up with a prediction here. And then I want to ask at the very end about some of the comments that Coach made here last week that blew up, went viral, as they say. So I want to get your thoughts on them. But let's go to prediction first, and then we can talk about Coach's comments. Where are you at here? Again, I know you kind of started off with that, but if I had to nail you down, did you put out any sort of record prediction?
I think for record prediction, I think it's going to be a solid 8-4. I think you could start the season with the 2-2 mark in non-conference play. And oddly enough, I don't think the 2 wins and 2 losses are ones most would expect.
Mm,
Obviously, I think obviously you can get a win off Holy Cross to start the season, and I think you can get an upset against one of Maryland or Mississippi State. I mean,
yeah,
both teams. I mean, they are not. They are near the bottom of their respective conferences from
yep,
historically it seems.
yeah,
So I mean, I think especially we know what this team is capable of. Everyone saw what happened at September 7th last year in South Bend. So I mean, I think they can make that magic happen for at least one of those teams. And then the one loss, I think it's like it seems like a fluke, but I think San Diego State is able to hand NIU a loss at home because San Diego State if the game feels like one of those where you just get caught by surprise, you just get caught off guard, or they catch you sleeping.
yeah,
It gives me this similar vibe as the Wyoming game back in 2021 when the
okay,
Wyoming Cowboys came to town. IU's first game after COVID and everything reopened up, and then it's just a firefight. IU makes a comeback. Wyoming just kills any chance. And I think San Diego stayed there. I think, and I might roll into that game thinking, okay, we can get a win, and then roll into conference play. But I think that might be the game that humbles you a little bit.
okay,
And conference play, I have some optimism. I think you can get a win from one of Miami, Toledo, or Ohio, and I think that
okay,
game is going to be Miami.
okay,
And then from there, I think, well, with this last season, obviously it's a last chance for us to, win our rivalry games. Last chance for the Mallory Cup against Miami. I think we can get that one as we, head off to the Mountain West. And then obviously our arch rival, Ball States. They have had our number in recent years. They have won the past 3 games on some sort of game-winning fashion, whether it be, a touchdown in double overtime or a game-winning field goal in back-to-back years. But with the new scheme they have over there and with that team that's kind of, adjusting to the new coaching staff, especially with NIU having a chip on its shoulder now,
yeah,
as that all-time series is tied even right now. So winner gets to take home the bronze stock and bragging rights to the all-time win record, and then they can, bosey off. And then for the rest of the schedule, I mean, you end pretty light. You got Western Michigan, UMass, Kent State.
yeah.
I think that's a streak where you can end 3-0, at least in that stretch of conference plays. So overall, 8-4. That'll get you to a bowl game, your third straight. If they win a bowl game, depending on where they go, it'll be the first time in school history we've won 3 straight bowl games.
Okay.
Now it's like by the time that's all said and done, if that ends up coming to fruition where Huskies can't make it to Detroit for that last MAC title, it's obviously gonna feel like a what if, but at the same time, but in this day and age of college football, you take what you can get, especially and you can't and bowl win, nothing to sneeze at.
Absolutely. Well, I love the prediction. Appreciate you giving that to us. As I said, I'll be watching. Let's end this. Just I want to hear your comments on the video that was posted or the comments from Coach Hammock here last week. I saw it. I couldn't believe it. Just incredibly wise, not surprising to NIU fans, but wise words that were said and just true words that were said. And what I think so many football fans are thinking, and we just don't hear it enough from coaches or whomever. When you heard that, and I believe you were the one that clipped it, did you know it was going to be like, I'm sure you were like, oh, that was great, but did you know how crazy it was going to get and millions of retweet or millions of views and all that kind of stuff?
Honestly, I did not expect it to blow up the way it did. I mean, I remember, that press conference. Technically that whole series of remarks wasn't really supposed to play out. They
Okay.
were the SID was getting ready to end the press conference. Next to me, the sports editor from the Daily Chronicle wants to get one last one in. Hammock decides to give it to him. He asks the question about what would you change about the transfer portal,
Mm,
and then you heard the rest. I mean,
yep.
Hammock is a heck, from my experience working with Hammock for these past few years. It's easily tell he's a very passionate man, and he cares about his players. He cares about his team.
Yep.
And I think he cares about, the traditions of college football. It's because and he said himself in his works, he played college ball
Yep.
and he did it without getting a dime. Obviously, that's back in the early 2000s when legislation in the NCAA was completely different and the experience was completely different. So, but the thing about his remarks is like, there's no clean cut response to such a
Yep.
complicated issue like NIL and the transfer portal.
Right.
And I can see why a lot of people resonate with what he said, but I can also see why a lot of people might have disagreed with what he said too. So it's more of a double-edged sword on that front. But honestly, I am glad to see that Hammock got his flowers where he deserved them, and that he's able to get get his 2 cents in on the matter because I know, especially after what happened in Notre Dame last year, people kind of pay more attention to Hammock. They know what kind of coach he is. They know how much he cares. So that was pretty special.
Well, hey, thanks so much for all you do there covering NIU. I know you're one of my follows. And enjoy all the coverage you have. And thanks so much for coming on the Big Mountain.
Oh yeah, no, it was a pleasure to be on here. I've been following you guys since we found out we were gonna head to the Mountain West. So I'm looking forward to seeing how everything plays out. And we'll see the Mountain West in 2026.
There you have it. And if I make it up to NIU before that, I will certainly let you know. Would love to say hello. With
All
that,
right.
hey, we thank you guys for watching this episode. Make sure you smash the like button and subscribe if you like our content. We're going to be following everything NIU as they gear up to the Mountain West, one of the two conferences we follow here on the Big Mountain. So with that, we'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.